Hey guys, it's Jacinda. It's the third day of this video blog and I am just so excited about the characters, which is the third video vlog. And a lot of you know we've talked on Facebook that I'm super passionate about these characters. I think the thing for me that really made the writing experience so special for me is because I do actually love these characters. I love all four of the main characters, actually five main characters of this book. I just feel like there's so much depth to them and it was just awesome for me to write. So let's just go over the four characters and we'll just talk a little bit about each. Ever for me is someone that I just see as this very artistic, beautiful young woman that is obviously dealing with the grief of losing her mother, and so much of that comes out through her artwork. I know so many teenagers that I've worked with use the dramatic arts to process through emotions. And when I was thinking about both Ever and Eden, how they dealt with their emotions was through their creative arts, which I love that. And so forever I just thought of her as like this just graceful but strong and artistic and beautiful, and especially, you know, thinking about her painting and how that was just so part of her and what motivated her and what was driving her. And it just made me really have a strong connection with her because that's so inside me. Caden, you know, I read a review last night that I must have had this hatred towards Caden and that, you know, I was living out my anger towards men at Caden, which I think is so interesting because I love Caden. You know, I was a teacher for 15 years and I worked primarily with teenagers. And gosh, I can think of several young men that had a very similar life to Caden where he couldn't catch a break. Everything that could possibly bad happen to him would and did happen to him. And that's not something that's unusual. Gosh, that happens all the time. People lose their parents. People lose their grandparents. People lose their best friends. They fall into drug and alcohol abuse. You know, it ruins lives. And so I felt like it was interesting with Caden that we followed him to see right from where that pain started and how difficult his life was and how he dealt with that. You know, I think if he hadn't had Ever, I think you would have had a very different story. I think in a way, his love for Ever and his relationship with her is really what carried him through that grief. I think if he hadn't had her, he probably, I don't know if he would have survived that. I really don't. I think he was at a point that when he comes to her, if she wasn't there, even if she wasn't there that night, I think it would have been very difficult for him to recover from the grief that he had been through and through the things that he had endured. So I think the two of them and their relationship is really what kept him from losing his mind or completely just, you know, going down the wrong path into crime or drugs or alcohol. I just feel like he was just beaten up by life and Ever gave him hope. So I think really that's what changes once he loses her is that he loses his hope. He has no hope. And I think that his way of holding on to her really in a tangible way is through Eden. Eden's character, I know a lot of us have had big conversations on Facebook about Eden. You know, for me, Eden is so much part of me too. Because she does have insecurities. She has this beautiful sister who seems to have an easier life than her. And, you know, the two of them are really all they have because their father is pretty absent. Their mother is died. And so really they just have each other. And, you know, she's basically just in her shadow. She never really has her own except for her music, which is how she deals with her pain and her grief and what's happening in her life. So I think for me, Eden, I can really relate to her because I can understand her just always feeling like she's second, and her world is pretty small. She didn't have the same outlets that Ever had. So I kind of understood where she was coming from and those feelings. Do I necessarily like what happened with her and Caden? No, but do I understand it? Yes. I can totally see that. When you're reading a book, it was very difficult for me, and I could have done kind of like the Stephenie Meyer thing where I had chapters of just months and months and months and months of Ever being in that coma. When you read it, it seems very short, but a year and a half in life for someone who's their age is a lifetime. That's a lifetime. And for those characters, I think it was such a pivotal and important point in their life that I can really see them only having each other because the way that they're brought together, it's their way of surviving. And I think, like I said, it's not something that we like to happen, but I really can understand how it could happen. And I don't judge or vilify those people, especially because I know how the story ends. And so I think there's redemption there. And if you haven't read it, I'm not going to tell you what happens, but you should read it. And then, gosh, Carter, let me just tell you, Carter is a mix of this man that I saw on the beach that I talked to you about, and then he's also a real life person that I know who's just handsome, and he's a carpenter, and he's smart, and he's sophisticated, and he's sensitive, and he's just like those kind of guys that you're like, is he real? Is that even real? Because he's just, wow. So I think that for Eden, it would take that kind of guy. I don't know if she would have ever recovered from what happened to her and been able to make the choices that she made without someone like Carter in her life. And I think the big overall theme here, and the theme that you're going to see probably a lot for me because it's the one that I am probably the most passionate about, is that when meeting someone and starting a relationship and the love that you have from that person heals you from tragedy and from pain. And that just comes from my personal life, and something that I like to explore in my writing and my art is how those relationships save you from yourself and from those experiences. And so I think these characters, they just all saved each other through their choices. And although they had so much pain, I mean, gosh, the four of them, the amount of pain that they endured just seems unbearable. It seems like, how could they have possibly survived that or endured it? But I just think it's so powerful, and I know that it's possible. I know that some people would say that kind of love doesn't exist. I believe that it is. I believe that love is out there. So it was just something that I felt in this series and in other series you're going to see from me, something that I love to examine and to write about. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please read the trilogy. Don't give up. Get to the end. I think it's worth it. I think it's such a beautiful example of what the boundaries of love and what the heart can heal from, and what true love is, even under tragedy, even under mistakes. And I loved writing it, and I hope that you enjoyed reading it, and I hope that you talk about it, and that you continue to talk about it with your friends and neighbors, and really just examine what you would do in those situations, or what your definition of love and hope is in those circumstances. So thank you so much for reading. Thank you so much for taking this tour with me, taking this journey with me, and watching these video blogs. I love you guys. Talk to you later.